If you're an INFJ personality type, chances are you've been called too sensitive, too intense, too caring. But here's what most people don't realize. You're not overwhelmed because you're weak. You're overwhelmed because you're emotionally open in a world that doesn't understand emotional boundaries. Today we're diving deep into INFJs and emotional boundaries, why INFJs struggle with them, why they're absolutely necessary, and what others completely misunderstand about how INFJs experience emotions. This isn't just about personality theory. This is about energy, empathy, emotional survival, and self-protection for one of the most emotionally perceptive types in the MBTI personality system. 1. Why emotional boundaries are different for INFJs. For most people, emotions are internal experiences. For the INFJ personality type, emotions are often shared space. Because INFJs lead with introverted intuition, NI, and extrovert feeling, FE, they naturally tune into other people's moods, subtle emotional shifts, unspoken tension, hidden pain, social atmosphere. This makes INFJs incredibly compassionate, but it also blurs the line between "this is my feeling" and "this is someone else's feeling that I'm carrying." That's where emotional boundaries become critical. But here's the problem. INFJs often don't even realize a boundary has been crossed, because they were never taught where the boundary was supposed to be. 2. INFJs are emotional sponges, and don't notice at first. One of the most common INFJ struggles is emotional absorption. INFJs walk into a room and instantly sense who is stressed, who is angry, who is pretending to be okay, who feels left out. And instead of just noticing it, their nervous system starts responding to it. This is why many INFJs feel drained after social events, need long recovery time alone, feel responsible for fixing other people's emotions, carry emotional heaviness that isn't theirs. Other people might say, just ignore it. But for the INFJ empath personality, it's not that simple. Their brain is wired for emotional attunement. It happens automatically, below conscious awareness. Without healthy emotional boundaries, INFJs don't just witness emotional pain, they absorb it. 3. What emotional boundaries actually mean for INFJs. A lot of people misunderstand what emotional boundaries are. They think it means being cold, distant, or uncaring. For INFJs, emotional boundaries mean something very different. It means learning to say, internally, I care about this person, but I am not responsible for carrying their emotional state. Healthy INFJ boundaries include letting others feel their own feelings, not overfunctioning emotionally in relationships, not feeling guilty for needing space, not solving problems that aren't theirs to solve, recognizing emotional limits before burnout hits. Boundaries don't make INFJs less kind. They make their kindness sustainable instead of self-destructive. 4. Why INFJs struggle to set boundaries. The INFJ personality type is wired for harmony, empathy, and emotional responsibility. That makes boundaries feel wrong at first. Here's why INFJs struggle. 1. They don't want to hurt anyone. INFJs hate the idea of causing emotional pain. Saying no, pulling back, or disappointing someone can feel physically uncomfortable. 2. They feel responsible for others' emotions. Because they can feel distress so clearly, INFJs often believe they should help regulate it. 3. They confuse empathy with obligation. Understanding someone's pain doesn't mean you're required to fix it. But INFJs often blur that line. 4. They ignore their own needs. INFJs are often last on their own priority list. They notice everyone else's emotional state before their own. By the time INFJs realize they need a boundary, they're already exhausted. 5. The hidden cost of weak emotional boundaries. Without strong INFJ emotional boundaries, several patterns appear. Emotional burnout. Constant emotional absorption leads to fatigue, irritability, and shutdown. Overthinking. INFJs replay conversations, analyze emotional dynamics, and worry about everyone's well-being, long after the interaction is over. Resentment. INFJs give and give, until they feel unseen, unappreciated, or emotionally used. Withdrawal. Eventually, overwhelmed INFJs disappear socially. They isolate not because they don't care, but because they cared too much for too long. This is why many INFJs relate to the cycle of overgiving, emotional exhaustion, withdrawal, guilt, overgiving again. Boundaries break this cycle. 6. What others don't understand about INFJ boundaries. When INFJs finally try to set boundaries, people are often confused. They might say, "You've changed. You're being distant. You used to care more." But what's really happening is, the INFJ is learning the difference between empathy and emotional self-sacrifice. Others don't see the emotional labor INFJs do silently, the mental energy spent tracking everyone's well-being, the internal stress of constant emotional attunement. So when INFJs step back, it looks sudden. But to the INFJ, it's long overdue. 7. The INFJ door slam and boundary overload. One extreme form of boundary enforcement in the INFJ personality is the well-known INFJ door slam. This happens when boundaries were ignored for too long. Emotional exhaustion reached a breaking point. The INFJ feels deeply hurt or betrayed. Instead of small boundaries early on, INFJs sometimes tolerate too much, until they shut the door completely. To outsiders, it looks cold. To the INFJ, it feels like emotional survival. Healthy growth means learning small, early boundaries so things don't have to end in emotional shutdown. 8. Signs an INFJ needs stronger emotional boundaries. Many INFJs don't realize they're overloaded until they're already depleted. Warning signs include feeling responsible for everyone's happiness, dreading messages from emotionally demanding people, feeling guilty for wanting alone time, mentally replaying others' problems late at night, feeling drained after just listening, fantasizing about disappearing for a while. These aren't signs you're selfish. They're signs your empath system is overloaded. 9. What healthy INFJ boundaries look like. For the INFJ personality type, boundaries are often quiet and internal before they're external. Healthy INFJ boundaries include mentally separating your emotions from others, saying, "I don't have the energy to talk about this right now," limiting time with emotionally draining people, not being constantly available, letting people solve their own problems sometimes, prioritizing solitude without guilt. Boundaries allow INFJs to stay compassionate without losing themselves. 10. Boundaries don't make INFJs less loving. This is one of the biggest misconceptions. INFJs fear that if they set limits, they'll become cold or selfish. But the opposite is true. When INFJs have boundaries, they give from choice, not obligation. They listen without resentment. They help without burning out. They stay emotionally present longer. Boundaries turn INFJ empathy from leaking energy into directed care. 11. The emotional maturity of an integrated INFJ. A growing INFJ learns, "I can care deeply about people without carrying their emotional weight for them." This emotional maturity allows INFJs to stay compassionate without collapsing, support others without self-abandonment, love without losing identity, engage with the world without drowning in it. It's not about becoming less sensitive. It's about becoming strong enough to protect your sensitivity. If you're an INFJ struggling with emotional boundaries, nothing is wrong with you. You were built to feel deeply, to understand people, to care in ways many never will. But even the deepest well needs walls. Boundaries aren't barriers to love. They are the structure that lets love last. And when INFJs learn to protect their emotional energy, their empathy becomes not a burden, but a quiet, steady light in a world that desperately needs it.